This is a good thing to start on. Dang. This music's awesome. I could probably fix the logo a little bit. Make the door a little bit more noticeable. Ooh, that's gonna be a good one. I don't want you to play yet. I'll save you to watch later. Why is this not connected to chat? Oh, I bet you I know why. Error loading data. Yeah, I have a reason why that might be. I know exactly why that chat's not working. I'll have to fix that. Laters. Laters. It's okay, I'll just use the dashboard on my phone. Reconnecting to chat. Or, this totally doesn't work either. I wonder if it has to do with the fact that I changed the name. I mean, that would make sense. Just doing a quick audio check. Whoa, the delay is super quick. But you guys can't hear any of the audio. I just put to 0. There, now you can hear it. Nice. Okay. Oh, we'll turn that all the way down. What is it, 2? I got it. I got it, yo. What's intermission again? Period, I think? Ha ha ha. Now that I'm typing random crap on my screen here. Okay. Wow, okay, that should... I'm not a big fan of that. I like this one. Just as soon. That one's a good one. I apologize for the sound of my furnace, if you guys can hear it. It's quite loud. And I'm looking forward to the summer, where it comes on less often. That is the idea, anyways. Okay. So, what I've done so far is put together a loose design plan, or at least the bones of it, for Loose Threads, the investigative RPG podcast that I want to make. I've got the concept down. which if you want to read, you can just pause that shit. I've got a timeline kind of laid out. Roughly, I'm kind of flip-flopping on the time here. I got done this, or not done this, but, because this isn't done. But I got through most of the thoughts of this pretty quick, so I previously said 6 months, but now I'm kind of at the 3 to 4. What else we got here? Yeah, we'll see how everything plays out. That sounds about right. I got a list of design elements here I want to play around here. Obviously, I've got the investigator backgrounds. Got skilled investigators, which pretty well changes how, pretty well makes everything a passive skill. They gain information based on their proficiencies. So I had an idea. This is totally stolen from another investigative podcast called Mysteries and Madness. Yeah. I don't know if it'll work quite the same as it does in that podcast, but we'll see. I think what I wanted to work on today was maybe get some backgrounds kind of lit out, maybe implications of magic / cold cases. One of my thoughts on the cold cases actually is cases going cold could be a way that the adventure ends without the party actually finding a conclusion, which would be kind of neat. But starting from cold would be an interesting way of challenging the party and getting away from spells like Speak with Dead, for example, which I have written up there. Oh god, that music. Let's skip that. Yeah, that's fine. Sort of. Okay. So, getting away from spells like Speak with Dead isn't necessarily exactly what I'm aiming for. Because I can work around it. But it is an interesting thing to take off the table. An interesting way to constrain the party members, or the investigators, as they are so called. Okay, so the implications of magic. I think I have to think about how I think about magic in Dungeons and Dragons. The way I kind of think of it is I would kind of have to mirror it. It would have to be kind of like the weave. Kind of like how they do describe it, but traces of what happened using magic could be felt in reverberations of the weave, if that makes sense. My understanding of the weave and how D&D, the designers in D&D envisioned it was there is a sort of layers of different forces that are kind of overlapping. Hey man, what's going on? Just doing a little bit of design, yo. Yeah, there's a little bit of forces that kind of overlap each other, and magic users pluck and play with those forces. So magic in this, I would think, would be traceable. So there's kind of like, there could be a forensic element to magic. And Speak with Dead, because that's always the thing that trips everything for investigative RPGs. Magic is known in this, so I would make it more a part of the process of, say, like an autopsy or a coroner's report. If a murder is part of the case, of course. The thing about Speak with Dead, if I remember correctly, is that it can only be cast once on a body. So, say the players or the investigators are a part of either a private detective agency or a state-funded operation. Having their own Speak with Dead could be problematic for the process. Right? And that would be part of what they have to play into. Interesting. See, the cool thing I think with this is that I don't actually have to change that much about D&D to make it work. To make it effective for investigations. Sure, it's built around combat, but there's a lot of other little knobbies. So, which do I want to start on? This one or this one? Cases can represent both the ending of an investigation and the beginning. I feel like you the most. What do you mean? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the chat. And I've got to do something about this music, because that music is terrible. Terribly bad. There we go. Oh, that's not the one I want either. This is the one I want. Cold cases can represent both the ending of an investigation and the beginning. Whoa. If the investigators are starting from scratch, I should probably learn how to spell scratch. If the investigators are starting from scratch, that's inherently, I don't know how to spell inherently either. Was that corrected for me? Nice. That inherently adds a level of difficulty to the case. obviously. If the investigators are starting from scratch, that inherently adds a level of difficulty to the case, obviously. Every little tidbit of a clue at that point becomes gold. Becomes gold. On the other hand, there's no hand. There's no first hand. Cold cases can represent both the ending of an investigation and the beginning. If the investigators are starting from scratch, that inherently adds a level of difficulty to the case, obviously. Every little tidbit of a clue at that point becomes gold. Alternatively, and I can't type tonight. Alternatively, investigators are doing everything they can to prevent a case from going cold. I'm going cold. As that may be a natural ending for a case. Say the perp. Say the prep. The perp gets away. Ooh, there should be some kind of down for my chaos effect. Could there be like a time limit? Could there be like a hidden time limit? Hidden time limit? Okay. So perp gets away. Or a time limit slash another crime scene. Cool. That idea that I had a while ago is coming back to me slowly. Alternatively, investigators are doing everything they can to prevent a case from going cold, as that may be a natural ending for a case. Say the perp gets away, or the clues dry up. There could be. This should be. Descending should be what, say the perp gets away or the clues dry up. Descending should be what I'm trying to avoid as the designer. the game. Also, none of this is like formal, so the writing doesn't have to be fucking. It just has to allow me to read out my previous thoughts. This is totally just the outline. This is the equivalent of me writing in this guy. I can. What is it? Wow. I was in the hospital with my son. I wrote out probably 30 pages of shit for this podcast. But that was like 2 years ago. Yeah, man. When I was like, because when Jace was in the salary, we had to have a parent stay with him every night, and while my crew was working at Edmonton, I stayed most of the nights, and I stayed up most of the nights designing both Dead Winter Nights or Dead Winter Run for the 12 Nights of Midwinter anthology, and writing out shit for Loose Threads, because I've had that idea forever. But like I told Devin not too long ago, I gotta get working on this because it's not gonna get any better just by simmering in my head. So I'm writing it down. So the perk gets away or the clues dry up. This ending should be what I'm trying to avoid as the designer of the game. As for its effect on the podcast, it would open up doors for developing the investigators as living characters. These aren't just a collection of stats. It won't correct aren't. Interesting. All right, man. Have a good one. Cheers. Tally ho. Whatever you want to say. As for its effect on the podcast, it would open up doors for developing the investigators as living characters. These people aren't just a collection of stats. And should be what I'm trying to avoid as a designer of the game. As for its effect on the podcast, it would open up doors for developing the investigators as living characters. These people shouldn't just be a collection of stats and rolls. Stats and bonuses. I don't know if I like what I've written here. Cold cases can represent both. It's not really a design element too much. What if I just do it? Okay. Pa-pow. We're back to beginning. Old cases. Starting a case. Starting a case from the cold should be more difficult. Then catching one hot out of the oven. The crime scenes have been tidied up. Tidied up. The blood rinsed away. I know I said this didn't have to be like nicely written, and then I'm rewriting it. Starting a case from the cold should be more difficult than catching one hot out of the oven. Crime scenes have been tidied up, the blood rinsed away. The memories of the witnesses. Wrinkles. But door is always and for spicy tip. Yeah, door's always open for a spicy tip. Would be interesting to feature series collection. I don't want it to feel like a series. It would be interesting to feature a collection of cases that start with just the minimal amount of direction. Ooh. That could be another point here. Managing direction. Let's put it as heading 2. Managing. Wow, that was brutal. Direction. Okay, let's call it. Okay. To feature a collection of cases that start with just a minimal amount of direction. And showcase how the tree is how a tree of information can sprout from a single seed. Single seed. Yeah, I think this is written better. Right. Can sprout from a single seed. Alternatively. Ha! Spelled it right. Alternatively, investigators and I, as the designer, should be doing everything we can to prevent a working case going cold. And oh, I forgot to write case. Going cold. Case going cold. As the designer. And GM means that the availability thank you, Google, of information was not sufficient. Oh my god, I'm brutal. The availability of information was not sufficient for investigators in the case. According to, what is it, the 3-clue rule? I forget what the thing's called. Maybe I shouldn't put it in quotes. What's that thing called? Running investigative RPGs, investigative D&D. Sure, that works. What's the 3 clues rule? What's fuck? Yeah, there we go. 3-clue rule. What's wrong with me? Yeah. Okay, so let's do a little bit of research then. Okay. Yeah, see, this is the thing you're trying to avoid. The good thing. The players are not Sherlock Holmes. They are not. Their characters might be, but they are not. However, I disagree that mysteries are impossible. Sorry, there was literally something poking me in the back. Oh, it was a feather. A feather was poking me in the back. Hello, feather. Yeah, see? Okay, yes. So this is a problem. This is how many fail states there are. Or points of failure there are 4. For that single clue. Right, and the way that I designed it in... I don't know if I'm allowed to show this, but I'll just show it. Let's see if I even have it first. Let's go to an intermission quick. Because I'm going to be searching around my computer a little bit. Seeing if I can find this. Because I actually don't even know if I have it on this computer anymore. Or if I had it on here at all. Isn't that just fun? Would I put it in documents? No. Pictures? No. Do I have it in that thing? What's that thing? USB FTE. Okay, this looks promising. Finished documents. Flavor of the month. Flavor of the month. Color. Internet friendly. This'll do. Okay. Let's go back to 2. Okay. And we are back. Okay, so for flavor of the month, this is an adventure I wrote for Ice Cream Dice. Mark Schubert. Yeah. Yeah, I wrote this for him. When did I write this? I forget when I did it. I think it was 2018. Somewhere around there. 2017 maybe? I'm not exactly sure. But, yeah, I wrote this for him as like a one-shot type thing for a ice cream dice Kickstarter that he was running. And it was pretty cool. He runs it quite often on streams. I don't know if he runs it on streams. But either way, I forget how to say his name. This guy here did the cover art. Real stand-up dude. I've hired him a couple of times for other projects. He's awesome. He did the cover art for this. Oh, and he did a bunch of the other things that showed up in here. What is it? This guy. What else did he do? He did this guy. He did that guy. He did that one. And he did this guy. I didn't even include mine. Oh. So I included my version of those guys. I did this one. What's it? I did this guy. This thing was actually done from a picture that he had, that Mark had. I did that one. My art is really hokey. I draw better stuff on maps than I do. This is the first time I actually drew out something like this too. So that was pretty neat. I drew this out too. I did all the art for this. This is a giant file, by the way. I fucking had no idea how to do any of that stuff. Oh yeah. Okay, but what I wanted to show you. Where are you? It's Act 1 of this. This. Yeah. Okay, so. Style of play. Investigative. This part of the adventure is set up to be run as an investigation. For this, treat each room as a dungeon and each clue as a room within. When the PCs enter a space for the first time, the description of the room should clue them into several pieces of interest. I probably could have had a better choice of words for clue here. Clue them into several pieces of interest within the room. If a character investigating an item has a proficiency that matches any of the listed headings for that item, give them the additional info for free. It might seem counterintuitive given the rule set, but it helps keep the investigation moving since they are likely to miss some of the clues. Characters without proficiency may still roll to gain additional information. So what I did, there's 5 points here of stuff, right? So take S1 chairs here for a minute. This would be the part of the scene that's you get read the general description of the room when you enter. That's this bit here, and you can make this bullet points, whatever. It doesn't matter. I prefer having this over bullet points, but it just depends on the dungeon master. But as you come to certain areas of the room, say these chairs, for example, they get read another little thing. And if they have these skills, if they're proficient in them, then they just get this stuff added on for free. If they don't have them, then they can still roll, and they have to hit these DCs as a skill check. So essentially, if they're proficient, they gain it as a passive. Essentially. So, like, the chair in front of you appears to be made to a higher standard than the typical tavern chair. They've had some wax or polish rubbed into their frame to protect them. A shallow cushion rests between the table and the seat of the chair. So these chairs are standing up on the chair. They're upside down on the chair. Or they're upside down on the table. Investigation 3. Yeah, if you're... Most investigators are going to be given this. So I think I included investigation in on like every single one. So just investigators in general get more information, right? But if you are... Like, I even did it for tools, right? So this one, for example, Tinker's Tools. This is a magnetic key. Like, so yeah, like if you have insight, there's an orange colored substance on the bottom of one of the chair legs. It feels sticky to the touch, sweet to the nose, as if it were a candied pitch, right? So you're finding remnants of some kind of orange goo. Right, here's insight. Chairs in restaurants are typically flipped at the end of the night to assist in cleaning a room. If something happened the other night, it happened after Frosty closed the shop for cleaning. Right? So this would be given for free to the person who has insight and comes into this area. Right? And a lot of people are going to have insight when they're doing this kind of stuff too, right? So I liked this. Placed haphazardly on the edge of the bar's brushed metal countertop is a small knob that resembles a handle for a drawer. There doesn't appear to be any reason to have a knob on this spot. Investigation. When you attempt to lift the knob off the metal countertop, it resists you, though it slides along the surface easily. With a bit more force, you're able to tip it off the metal and examine closer. There's nothing to fasten it to the metal aside from some unseen force. Tinker's Tools, DC 10. I like how it got easier. This is a metal magnetic key. It can be used to slide unseen locking pins from their locked state back into an unlocked one. This seems to double as a handle. That's neat. See, so there's things like that that kind of make this system really nice. Right, even when you get into this basement part, there's another thing here. Right, and like I said, everything, I tried to include it the way that I designed this. Everything has something. Every kind of character has something that they can do. Some piece that they just get for free. So I would want to mirror something like that. And I think that's what this does. But like I said before, these 4 steps represent 4 points of failure. When you're designing the RPG. So what would happen is, you know, they might pass this one, they might pass 2, they might just barely pass 3 and fail 4, or they might just fail 1, and all this work that you put into these as a designer is lost. Right? Yeah, see, look, that's literally the next thing. He says 4 potential points of failure. I haven't read this thing in years, but that's my understanding of the 3 clue rule, is essentially giving the, yeah, see, and he even talks about gumshoe. Yeah, whenever you're designing a mystery scenario, you should invariably follow the 3 clue rule. For any conclusion you want the PCs to make, include at least 3 clues. Yeah. Yeah. That makes total sense. Right? I think with any of these, I made 3 or 4 clues, at least. Right? I don't think I made 1 or 2 on any of them. And they're given this stuff for free. And they can still make the roll if they're not proficient. Which, if you're not proficient as an investigator in an investigative RPG, what are you doing? What are you doing? Right? Oh, here we go. Living quarters. Oh, but I made this one so low. This was actually this was meant to give them the cold weather gear, because where they go next, it gets flooded with frozen fog. It's such a cool little thing. I liked this a lot. This reminded me of Zelda. This little concept where you go down here, you go all the way around in here, and there's guys every which way. You gotta funnel the cold water back into here. It's pretty cool little setup, I think, anyways. Just me. Enough about that. So, according to, now I can actually put quotes around it, the 3 clue rule. For every conclusion, I want investigators to make, I need to include at least 3 clues. Another way to adjust for this is with the skilled investigators. element where players are simply given the information that their character would be able to infer on their own. I like it. In the end, there should still be potential for a case to go cold. It happens. Sometimes. It happens. More often than you want to believe. In the end, there should still be potential for a case to go cold. It happens more often than you want to believe. And cases like that change investigators, seasons them. Sometimes the perp just gets away. Sometimes the perp just gets away. Or the information was wrong. Or their read on the information was wrong. Just as it is completely... Wow, why didn't you fix that one? Completely possible for them to arrest or kill the wrong person for the crime. It should be possible for them to lose track of the case. Allowing it to go cold. Yeah. Sometimes the perp just gets away, or the read on the information was wrong. Just as it's completely possible for them to arrest or kill the wrong person for the crime, it should be possible for them to lose track of the case, allowing it to go cold. Okay, managing direction. What do I mean by this? Managing direction is more like managing the plot. Now, as long as that direction is forward, that's really all that matters. The main thing you're trying to avoid is having people get stuck on a scene for too long. Now, granted, this is more about the podcast than the actual gameplay. See, the gameplay is going to be tampered out behind the scenes. The elements of it are going to make it into the podcast, but the podcast is the main event. but I still want it to be fun. Managing direction. What does that mean? What can I do to manage direction? I can use tension. Direction in this sense means keeping game moving forward. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the right direction, but it should. But the game should be trotting along without the investigators coming stuck on the scene. Shit, what was my point I had before? It doesn't have to necessarily be in the right direction, but the game should be trotting along without the investigators becoming stuck on a scene. Ooh. One of the ways I could accomplish this would be to create some tension. Possibly with a time limit or threat of some unforeseen event. Happening. During the investigation. During the case. If I can feel the game becoming stagnant, I could make use of a chaos-esque table that shakes up the game. Shakes up the game a bit. That makes sense. Yeah. Hidden time limit, another crime scene. Combat breaks out. Yeah, kind of like that. Okay. Implications of magic. What are we going to do with this one? I think I kind of moseyed my way through it before, but with how the all-powerful designers of D&D speak of the weave magic. How do designers of D&D speak about weave magic? Believe a multitude of layers of yarn like multitude layers of yarn like layers threading through the universe. Yeah, I like it. How the designers of D&D, I don't know why I capitalized designers, that seems silly. How do designers of D&D speak about the wave of magic, a multitude of yarn-like layers threading through the universe? It leads me to believe that any manipulation of those layers could result in a reverberation of the weave or bounce back reverberation of the weave, like an elastic band stretched and twanged, like twanged, could result in a reverberation of those layers, could result in a reverberation of the weave, like an elastic band stretched and twanged. This reverb effect could possibly be traced by someone skilled in that sort of thing. Magic has long thought to be the bane of the investigative RPG. This long thought has been long thought. Has been thought to be the bane of the investigative RPG. If players have free access spells like Speak with Dead, and resurrection. Yeah, fucking course I spelled it wrong. There's not two S's. If players have free access to spells like Speak with Dead and Resurrection, then what is the point of an investigative team after all? After all, it could simply resurrect the deceased victim, ask them who attacked them. So what am I working on? I am working on an investigative RPG kind of thing for D&D 5e. It's kind of an idea that I had a long time ago to make a podcast out of. I'm just designing the kind of framework for it. I know there's plenty of other systems that do investigations better than D&D, but I think that really only needs really minor changes to make it work. So I'm currently working on podcast, we're just talking about sort of both. Have you ever listened to true crime podcasts at all? This victim and ask them to attack them. Nope. Okay. Well, in a lot of cases, they end up talking through the case. I mean, depending on which ones you want to listen to, but obviously some are better than others. My favorite ones heavily detail the case and the victims. Season 1 of AdPod. 8pod? 8? I don't know. I've never heard of that one. But, yeah, a lot of them narrate the case or speak through the case and kind of offer their own little insights on things. Oh, not another D&D podcast. I haven't listened to that one. Although I have seen it. I have seen, like, it on the podcast launchers. But yeah, they end up talking through a lot of the case, and that's all true crime stuff. But when I was in college taking detective fiction, I had a thought of doing a detective fiction case based in D&D. So it'd be like fantasy detective stuff. And this is me following through with that idea. So my podcast would be narrated fantasy crimes, but it would have like actual play segments in it. And that would be like the parts where you would hear like 911 calls, that kind of stuff, or like news reports. That would be kind of the actual play stuff. I don't know. I still gotta play with it. Obviously, I haven't had any time to figure out exactly what's going on yet. But that's what I'm working on. That's the general idea. Any message board? device to simply get rid of those spells that are tough to design around. Are more challenging. To design around. Oh, whoops. That's not what I wanted. Not what I wanted. More challenging to design around. I, however, am of the thought to... I, however, would rather allow the player play the character they so choose with all the bonuses that they would normally have. I would rather allow the player to play the character they so choose with all the bonuses they would normally have, and instead change how the world works around them. That spell, for example, Speak with Dead, could become simply a matter of process. Something that spell, for example, Speak with Dead, could become simply a matter of process. One of several steps in carrying out an autopsy, for example. Part of the paperwork. Whoops. Part of the paperwork. Part of the paperwork. One of several steps in carrying out an autopsy, for example. Part of the paperwork. If a player or investigator has access to the spell on their own, well, they are free to use it. But there may be implications for doing so. And messing with the to use it, but there may be implications for doing so. I mean, an investigator has access to the spell on their own. Well, they're free to use it. There may be implications for doing so down the road. Just had an idea for these chaos effects. What if, whoa, what if every time the investigators, did I just get a message or something? Oh yeah. Schools are going online. Every time the investigators love. What if every time the investigators push for a boon in one aspect, there is an unforeseen circumstance that pops up? What if every time the investigators push for a boon in one aspect? Say the investigators use a spell like Speak with Dead and mess up the process for the pathologist. Would it be say the investigators use a spell like Speak with Dead, mess up the process for the pathologist. I could change we could reflect the significance of that by rolling on the table. Inspiration. Okay, what part was I at? Implications of magic. Here we go. Okay. One of several steps in carrying out an autopsy, for example. Part of the paperwork. If an investigator has access to the spell on their own, well, they are free to use it, but there may be implications for doing so down the road. The same may go for resurrection. The benefit of spells dispel the wording of this spell particular makes this kind of interaction a gamble. The victim might not know anything. Or be unwilling to talk for some reason. Or unwilling to talk for some reason. I think it's a good place to stop for the night. It's almost midnight, so let's figure out. Speak with death. No, that's not what I want. Okay. So, what have I got done tonight? Is there any kind of like... Can I open, like, get add-ons? What's Keep? What's Google Keep? What do I got? Tasks? It's tasks. Nice. Get started. Let's do this. Add a task. Title 2. Date, time. Ooh, I like this. That's kind of neat. I'm going to play with that. Let's Google Keep. Oh, I actually wrote something. Jesus. So it would play something like narrate the higher context type thing, maybe narrate the general oversight of where the party is going, and the actual play would be where the party's actually doing. You're experiencing the setting, that kind of stuff. The other thing the narrator could do would be to give information as far as the victim goes, as the actual damn goes, the timeline events, stuff like that for loose threads. What I want to do is have narration mixed with actual play. Cool. That's pretty neat. Huh. I should look at that more often. Okay, well I'm gonna play with the tasks. There's a whole calendar here. It's fucking cool. It's cool, dude. Design plan. That's sweet. Okay, so what have I got done? I've got framework to do. Let's highlight these. Some of these are getting. Let's give it a this for now. I'm gonna do framework. I've got to do office agency hub. Is this the one that I used? Light red? Yeah, it looks close enough. Skill stacking. I still got to do that one. What else do I got here? Oh, an inspiration now. How that works. See, I don't want to do anything that's going to add too many of a change. Too much of a change, I would say. I've still got these backgrounds to do. So those have to get done. And then from there, I think I'm kind of almost done the outline here. I could probably start designing something off of this pretty easily. I would just have to think of the first crime I would want to base it around. And then try and get people to join up. And run a few test sessions. So I'd probably actually run this fairly quick. See how it plays out. Though I'd have to do it online, because obviously we can't have people around. Bummer. But anyways, that shall be the show for the night. I am going to shut everything down and go to bed, because it's getting to be about that time. Anyways, have a good night. Thanks for watching. Cheers.